Welcome to our channel. Tonight, we delve into the chilling depths of true horror. Stories that will haunt your dreams and make you question the shadows around you. Are you ready to face your fears? In the heart of a bustling city stood the Old Grand Hotel, a luxurious place with a dark secret. Room 308 was never booked, never cleaned, and was always kept locked. The staff whispered about a tragic incident that occurred decades ago, involving a young bride who was found lifeless on her wedding night, her face frozen in a silent scream. One night, a weary traveler, unaware of the hotel's dark history, checked in late and was mistakenly given the key to room 308. As he entered, a chill ran down his spine. The air was thick, and the room was unnaturally cold. Ignoring his instincts, he settled in, too tired to request a change. At midnight, he was awakened by soft weeping. He opened his eyes to see a woman in a wedding dress standing at the foot of the bed. Her face veiled. She began to approach him, her sobs growing louder and more anguished. Paralyzed with fear, he watched as she lifted her veil, revealing a ghastly visage. The next morning, the staff found the traveler in the lobby, disheveled and muttering incoherently about the bride. He fled the hotel, leaving his belongings behind. Room 308 was sealed once more, but the legend of the haunting bride continues to send shivers down the spines of those who hear it. In the remote wilderness of the Appalachian Mountains, hikers often spoke of a mysterious figure who appeared and disappeared without a trace. Known as the Vanishing Hiker, this apparition was said to lure unsuspecting travelers off the beaten path, leading them to their doom. One summer, a group of experienced hikers decided to test their courage by spending a week in the depths of the forest. On the third night, they set up camp near a crystal-clear stream. As they sat around the fire, sharing stories, they noticed a lone hiker watching them from a distance. His clothes were old-fashioned, and his eyes seemed hollow. The group called out to him, but he simply turned and walked into the woods. Curiosity got the better of them, and one of the hikers, Jake, decided to follow. He told his friends he'd be back shortly, but hours passed, and there was no sign of him. Panic set in as they searched for Jake, calling his name into the darkness. Suddenly, they heard his voice, faint and distant, pleading for help. They followed the sound, which led them deeper into the forest, where they found Jake's belongings scattered around, but no sign of Jake himself. Days later, a rescue team found Jake, disoriented and dehydrated. He spoke of a spectral figure that led him astray and how he had wandered for days, lost and confused. The group cut their trip short, vowing never to return. The legend of the Vanishing Hiker grew, warning others to stay on the path and avoid the lure of the mysterious stranger. In a quaint suburban neighborhood, the Johnson family moved into their dream home. Everything seemed perfect until they began to notice strange occurrences. At night, they heard whispers coming from the walls, soft and indistinct, yet undeniably present. The youngest daughter, Emily, spoke of shadowy figures that danced on her bedroom walls, even when there was no light to cast them. Her parents dismissed it as childhood imagination until they experienced it themselves. The shadows seemed to have a life of their own, moving independently and vanishing when approached. One evening, as they gathered in the living room, the whispers grew louder, more urgent. The lights flickered, and the room grew cold. Suddenly, a shadowy figure materialized in the center of the room, its form twisting and contorting. The family froze in terror as the figure spoke in a raspy voice, warning them to leave the house. Desperate for answers, they contacted a local historian who revealed that the house was built on the site of an old prison, where countless prisoners suffered and died. Their restless spirits were now trapped within the walls of the house. Unable to bear the haunting any longer, the Johnsons moved out, leaving their dream home behind. The house remains vacant, a silent reminder of the tormented souls that reside within, their whispers continuing to echo through the empty halls. In a small town in Louisiana, a young girl named Lily received a beautiful porcelain doll from her grandmother. The doll had lifelike features and striking blue eyes that seemed to follow you wherever you went. Lily adored the doll and named her Annabelle. However, strange things began to happen soon after Annabelle arrived. Lily's parents would hear her talking to the doll in the middle of the night, and sometimes they swore they heard another voice responding. Objects in Lily's room would move on their own, and at times, the doll would be found in different places around the house, even though no one had touched it. One night, Lily's mother woke up to the sound of giggling. She went to check on her daughter and found her room in disarray, with Annabelle sitting on the bed, her eyes glowing eerily in the dark. Lily was nowhere to be found. Frantic, the family searched the house, finally finding Lily in the basement, sitting in a trance-like state, cradling the doll. They sought help from a local priest, who performed an exorcism on the doll. During the ritual, Annabelle's eyes seemed to bleed, and the doll shook violently before finally going still. After the exorcism, the strange occurrences stopped, and the doll was buried deep in the woods, never to be seen again. But the legend of the cursed doll lives on, and locals say if you listen closely at night, you can still hear the faint giggles of Annabelle. On a lonely stretch of highway in Texas, there's a legend about a phantom hitchhiker who appears to unsuspecting drivers. The hitchhiker is said to be a young woman in a white dress, looking lost and forlorn. One stormy night, a man named Bill was driving home from a late shift when he saw her standing by the side of the road, drenched and shivering. Feeling sorry for her, he pulled over and offered her a ride. She silently got into the back seat, her eyes fixed on the road ahead. Bill tried to make conversation, but the woman remained silent. As they drove, he noticed that she seemed to be fading, becoming more and more transparent. Suddenly, she turned to him and whispered, "This is where I died." Before Bill could react, the woman vanished into thin air. Startled, he lost control of his car and crashed into a ditch. When he regained consciousness, he found himself surrounded by paramedics. He told them about the hitchhiker, and one of the paramedics, an older man, nodded knowingly. "You're not the first," the paramedic said. "Many have seen her, always at the same spot. She was killed in a hit-and-run accident years ago, and her spirit still haunts this highway." Bill never drove that stretch of road at night again, and the legend of the Phantom Hitchhiker continues to send chills down the spines of those who hear it. Thank you for joining us tonight. If you enjoyed these stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated with our latest content. Sweet dreams, if you can sleep.